What is up, guys? It's Ryan Adler. So today we are going to talk about what's more fun to play, Killer or Survivor. I guess I'll start with a quick little disclaimer. Obviously, I'm a Killer main. Overall, I think Killer is the more fun role, but I do think it can also be super fun to play Survivor, and I think everybody should play a decent chunk of both roles, if only to learn how the other side thinks. Now, with that out of the way, let's start with what makes Killer the most fun. For me, the biggest reason to play Killer mostly is because you don't need teammates. Wow, these guys are sneaky. So you can play anytime you want, you don't have to schedule with other people. It's also surprisingly hard to find decent teammates. I mean, the sad truth is just that most people are not good at DBD, especially, well, actually both, a Killer or Survivor. And the people that are tend to be kinda, sorta insufferable. Or even if they're not, it's just you're gonna have to schedule with them, right? And you need 4, even just playing with 3, it makes a huge difference. Like, ideally, you just want to have 3 teammates. But then this also has a downside. You cannot play as a team as a Killer. If you have a good friend who's, like, great at Killer as well, there's no way for you to team with them, at least not yet. So yeah, there's definitely also a downside to it. My number 2 reason for Killer is that you're in on 100% of the action. The most fun part of DBD is the chase, and as Survivor, you're only going to be part of that about like a quarter of the time, on average anyway. Obviously there are things you can do to like bait chase or whatever, but you also have a huge chance to just throw doing it. And I think she's dead here. These pallets are not to be camped ever against any Killer. But yeah, as Killer, you are always where the action is. You don't have to do gens or any nonsense like that. So that's a huge reason. I guess the quote-unquote downside to that is you don't have any like downtime to, I don't know, read your chat or relax or whatever you want to do. Obviously, when you play Survivor and you're on a gen, you know, go ahead, check your phone, whatever. You don't have anything like that as Killer. But still, I think that's only a tiny downside. It's just a major plus to always being on the action. My number 3 reason why Killer's better is you are more in control of what happens. I mean, it starts out with you pick what Killer is played. The Survivors, they just have to eat whatever Killer you choose. So if, you know, I mean, you all know them, right? Skull Merchant, Onryo, Spirit, all the, like, Snorefest Killers. As a Killer main, if you don't like them, don't play them, and you'll never, you know, you'll never meet them. You also get to decide who's being chased, where and when, all this stuff, so obviously you are in the proactive role. The Survivors pretty much have to deal with whatever you feed them. This also comes with somewhat of a downside, because you are under, like, I guess you could call it under pressure to deliver. It's kind of like in a sports game when you're on the offense. The defense, they don't have to do anything. They just have to react to what you do and, you know, disturb you in the process. As the offense, you have to make things happen. If you don't do anything, you lose. So I guess that's the downside, but still a major plus there. Those are definitely the 3 big reasons. My number 4 reason would be there really is somewhat of a, I guess you could call it a primal nature in playing Killer. Like, you're the hunter. He's gonna camp in, huh? Damn. And you're out for your prey, you know? It's, I don't know. It's kind of, I enjoy that. It's just Killer is a more aggressive role, and also if you're kind of like me, kind of like a lone wolf type of person, it's just, I guess the role is more suited to you. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can definitely, you know, toy with the Killer and all as Survivor, but it's more a passive-aggressive nature of that role, I guess you could say. But we'll get to that when we talk about Survivor. Wow, she's really already giving up. That's so weird. I mean, it's 5 gens, bud. At least try to do something. You also don't have to deal with teammates like this as Killer, but we'll, like I said, we'll get to that later. So the number 5 reason for Killer is during events. It is definitely the better role for blood points, like Anniversary, Blood Moon, Summer event, any of those events. You're just gonna make a way more blood points as killer because other people will bring the offerings, and naturally you get more points as killer if you do well. So yeah, during events, definitely better for blood points. If you're, compared to solo queue, way better for blood points. If you're outside an event and you're a full Swift, then it's a different story. So let's get to what makes Survivor the better role. The number one reason for me to play Survivor is because you can team with your friends. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. That's the main reason. And then it has a huge downside. You also need a team. So if you don't have 3 people online, then, that's a problem. I think the second best reason is what I call the underdog rush. I mean, it's kind of questionable how much this is actually really a thing in the end, because I think DBD is surprisingly balanced when all things considered. But at least Survivor is perceived as the more, the underdog role. My third reason is that teamwork wins, close games where you win through great coordination. You have a full team, everybody's somewhat decent in chase, and you just, you win by teamwork. That can be very satisfying, especially when it's close or when the killer's playing super mean. It can be really satisfying when you push through all that as a team. Yeah, those are the 3 main reasons. Another 4th reason would be, I guess you can quote-unquote flex your skills in front of your friends. As killer, you can't really do that. I guess the only way to do that is just make videos, because otherwise, if you're, as killer, you do well, you're on your own. No one cares. We all know your opponents won't. They'll always call you, I don't know, a tunneler or a camper or mean or a tryhard, sweat, who knows. No one will care. If you're in it for the oohs and ahs, carrying your team as Survivor is probably the best. It's just way more of a thing. This also comes with a huge downside, though. The ability to carry your team as a Survivor against a good killer is extremely limited. They can just spread their pressure well. They can use tactics that don't really, you will not get to take them on a wild goose chase, I mean, you all know the videos. We all know against what type of killers those videos happen. They do call them content killers for a reason, right? So anytime you go up against a good killer, that's just not possible. And then I guess for people who like that stuff, there is somewhat of a, what I would call a carrot baiter aspect to Survivor. If you have a bad killer and you kind of get to dance around in front of them and they won't catch you, but they can't. So I guess that's why they call it a bully squad a lot or whatever. I don't really buy into that. I think that's fair game. If you outplay the killer, that's fine. And then my 5th reason is, outside of events, if you're a full stack team, you're just gonna get way more blood points. If everybody drops cakes, that's the way to go for blood points. And I would add to that, this doesn't really apply to me so much, but I know that a lot of my friends, they don't like playing killer because it's too stressful. So if you want to grind blood points back to back to back for hours, and you're someone like that, it's probably going to be a lot better to just play Survivor. Because I also definitely do think that losing as Survivor is, a lot of people perceive it as way less of a, not a big deal to lose a Survivor, and if they lose as killer, they feel powerless or whatever. I definitely feel like that's a thing for a lot of people. But yeah, with all that out of the way, we need to talk about the biggest downside of playing Survivor. You have to do gens, which is just completely boring. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why people either play in a Swift and then just talk to their friends while they do gens, or if they play solo queue, most people just, troll around or just throw the game. I think solo queue games are just mostly completely insufferable for both sides because it's just very boring. A lot of people are just throwing or just not doing gens or anything. So, I mean, as killer, it's fine. Just like this guy's giving up. It's whatever. So did the Nia. You can make do, just farm them, get your points, get out of there. But as Survivor, especially you get some of those weirdo killers who just won't do that, and they, get their sadistic little kick out of it and don't end the game. so you have to put up with that. As Killer, it's fine. You just farm your points and get out of there. So I think all these points overall, for me, make Killer the much better role. But I definitely like playing Survivor a lot too, especially with friends. So I found the Hatch Hider. She's in the Rift Room. I think she might be in a locker. The instinct is exactly where the lockers are. Bingo. Yeah, I actually think a lot of survivors don't know I get Killer Instinct through lockers. Bro, Artist's Kit is just so amazing for the info as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the whole which role is better. I'm personally not a fan of people who only play one role religiously. Especially when they have like crazy hot takes on balancing matters. If you only play one role, your opinion on balancing is kinda whatever. Not very valuable in my opinion. Bro, Hawkins is such a great map for artists. It's kinda similar to Larry's. They just can't see where you line up your birds. So you can force tons of 50-50s. Anyways, food for thought, Ryan Adler out.